Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. Use code DNVR when you head on over there and sign up for an account. Also brought to you by Green Mountain Dental Group, the best damn family dentist here in the Denver metro area, just 15 minutes from downtown in Lakewood. Be sure to jump on over there, get your cleaning, x-ray, and exam in, and you'll get a free Sonic Air toothbrush just for taking care of your teeth. I am Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele and Allie Monroy herself, who you saw just there.
I get my wisdom teeth out on Thursday or Friday.
There you go.
At Green Mountain Dental Group.
It's about time, Allie. It's about time.
I know. I'm nervous.
It'll be fine. Green Mountain Dental Group will take care of Allie. No problem. Piece of cake. We will get to the Tyson Jost, Val Nichushkin content here in a little bit, because the defensive forward conversation is an interesting one that's been a bit of a hot topic lately. But first, some good news and some bad news, a little bit of everything in the Colorado hockey world today. Let's start with the McFarland conversation. Right now, it sounds like Pittsburgh is leaning towards Ron Hextall.
They officially announced it, actually.
Oh, did they officially announce it? Did I miss the official announcement?
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, 100% confirmed that McFarland is staying with the Colorado Avalanche, which is great news given that he has been a major piece of this organization's front office for a handful of years now, helping the man behind the scenes of Joe Sakic, I suppose, when it comes to building this hockey team. So, always good to see. Other good news for the Avalanche. Nathan,
always good to see, but like, you feel for the guy. You know, he's been an assistant GM for 20 years.
I mean, let's be real. The next GM position that opens, you have to think the Avs fan base is going to be doing this again with him every single time another position opens. He's going to be in the running.
Yeah, I mean, it's been happening for a year.
Yep.
He interviews. He was part of the Minnesota process. He was part of the New Jersey process. He was part of the Pittsburgh process. For whatever reason, he was not part of the Florida process.
Did he want to be part of the Florida process?
Was not part of the Arizona process. So there have been openings. You know, that's a sixth of the league that have had GM openings in the last 2 years, and he's participated in some and not in others. So, but you have to think that he's getting closer. Yeah, you have to think the first time he ever interviewed for it, it probably wasn't going to happen. But getting his name out there, his name becoming part of one of the ones that comes up with search firms and things like that. That's all positive steps for his career. All of that moving forward. But for him, we're viewing this through the Avalanche lens of, since he's gotten here, the front office has been exceptional.
Yeah.
And, how much credit you give to Chris McFarland, you'll never know. But certainly has helped put his imprint on the organization and played a huge role in the Matt Duchene trade. So,
certainly from the Avs perspective, don't break up a good thing unless you have to.
Well, and this is where the Sakic president, McFarland GM conversation always comes into play. But to be honest, I mentioned it on Twitter, the Avs have given permission for him to go interview 3 different times for the GM job. I don't think they would do that if they were trying to get him to be president, or if he wanted to be GM in Colorado and with Sakic as president, because their titles might change, but functionally, what would change?
Right.
But McFarland may just want his own chance to run his own shop, have his own program, do his own thing,
Yep.
Career ambitions being what they are, he's worked his ass off for a very long time for a shot at this. He may not want to play second fiddle to Joe Sakic forever in Colorado. Not to say that there's an ego there, just that we don't know the personal motivations involved in this. We don't know the ambitions involved in this. It's purely speculative. Because we cover Colorado and because the people who listen to our show are Avalanche fans, everybody just assumes that people want to live in Colorado and stay in Colorado forever and work for the Avalanche forever and ever as long as they're any good at what they do. But we don't even know. Can we refund him? We don't even know. We don't even know what everybody involved in this process actually wants to do. So I think it's just wait and see. And when the chips are down, somebody will make a move. This has not been like with Chris Drury, who consistently has pulled himself out of GM searches and said, I'm not interested in leaving the Rangers. I like what I've got going on here. And then they just made him, I think, associate GM, which is just another title, basically for assistant to the general manager.
I mean, the implication of associate GM is the assumption that he's the man in waiting to become GM there, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. Spence, we appreciate the 2 $1.99 donations. I think we talked about Sam Bennett yesterday, and that's about as good as it's going to get.
Keep them eyes peeled for some stuff later.
There you go. AJ's always cooking up something in the kitchen over here.
We might have more on Sam Bennett later, but we won't get into it on the show today.
There you go. So keep your eyes peeled. Be sure to follow AJ Haefele on Twitter. Also, be sure to follow the DNVR Avalanche account as we are rapidly approaching 10K followers. Less than 200 to go now. So couple of followers on DNVR_Avalanche help us get to that mark would be much appreciated. Just like liking this video and subscribing to the YouTube channel also helps us out a ton. As we play the wrong graphic. There it is. That's the one we're looking for. You can hit the bell if you want to get notified every single time.
I saw the thumbs up and thumbs down. Got a little confused. I'm sorry.
Close enough. Close enough. We were in the ballpark. Other good news for the Colorado Avalanche. According to the man himself, Nathan MacKinnon is just fine. Good to go whenever the Avs do step on the ice again.
Yeah, so he's been joining a Fortnite streamer named Innocence, and apparently on that stream said, "I'm good. I'll be available to play whenever our next game is."
This is modern reporting, people. Get on your Twitch streams.
Watch
and
Twitch.
Find out the juicy details. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Obviously, good news for the Avs whenever they do return to the ice there. Outside of that, leaving Avalanche hockey but staying in Colorado, a little bit of sad news today with Ralph Backstrom passing away, the man who engineered the creation of the Colorado Eagles back when the Central Hockey League was still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people I know, the Eagles are very near and dear to them, especially up north in Colorado. So people who were fans of the Eagles long before I was, I'm sure, know Ralph a lot better than I do. But
passed away over the weekend and was a huge part of. I mean, he's maybe the biggest reason that AHL hockey is in Colorado today.
Yep, straight up, he created the Eagles and helped build that culture of winning up there, which has remained to this day. It's an interesting conversation that the Eagles have never missed the playoffs in their history through every league they've ever played in. CHL. Were they in the Federal Hockey League for a little while? I don't think so. ECHL and AHL.
Yeah. The CHL, the ECHL, and the AHL, I believe, is it.
Yeah. But either way, someone that some of you might not know, but certainly a powerful figure in the local Colorado hockey scene. Was a crazy good hockey player back in the day as well. But, you know.
More news today. It's been a crazy day.
It's been a day, yeah.
Mikko Koivu randomly retired.
Couldn't keep up in Montreal.
Yeah. Wow, what else happened? The Flyers game got canceled.
Yep.
Due to COVID issues. Brian Burke is joining Hextall in Pittsburgh. Bell canceled entire radio stations today in 3 cities.
It's just all
without
over the map.
without telling anybody, by the way.
Just
They just woke up today and were like, our radio stations in Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Hamilton are done. So keep this in mind the next time that they want to appear to be the people's champ with their Bell Let's Talk initiative. Remember that they're full of shit and you should not participate in that anymore.
Boom. Let them have it.
I mean, straight up, like we can all do more for mental health. We can all do we can all have a day. We should come together and have our own day. We shouldn't be relying on a huge corporation like that to just decide to care about mental health. They do all this stuff, they care all about it, and then they decide that they're just going to shutter 3 of their stations with no warning whatsoever. No.
Yeah, but the message is good, but
That's
you can't have the you have to follow up with your actions with for the message to mean anything. Charles, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, much appreciated. It's been a day around the hockey world, to say the least. A lot of stuff going on. Expectations are that, I mean, who knows here, right? We saw yesterday multiple teams having their postponements extended now through the 15th, is it, for Buffalo and New Jersey? Mm-hmm. And Minnesota as well, I believe. So the NHL's at a bit of a tough spot at the moment, generally. And there you go. Even more Wild players testing positive for COVID. The Avs maybe dodged a bullet. Yesterday, they didn't add anyone to the COVID list.
Yeah, as of right now, it's still Tyson Jost, Gabe Landeskog, and Sam Girard.
So far, not so bad. But, we'll see exactly what turns out there. Could get worse. Could hopefully does not get worse. But it just kind of have to manage it. Will the outdoor game be canceled from JT? I think NHL is going to try and do everything in their power to not cancel it.
They've still got 11 days. So
yep.
As long as the Avs continue to not add people to their list and they don't have to keep pushing games back, as far as we know, that game is still a go.
And the only team...
They've got to be nervous, though. 2 of the 4 teams that are participating in that are not playing right now, between the Avs and the Flyers.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great look. The good news for them is Vegas's 2 games leading up to it would have been against Colorado anyway, or still will be if Colorado comes off the COVID postponement list.
In Vegas, too, correct?
Yes. So, could be worse, certainly. For their setup there, but hopefully everything goes off without a hitch there, and the NHL can get a significant number of teams back on schedule here, as we were talking about after our podcast yesterday, like especially that Eastern Division. If it continues to go this way, there's just no way they can have a full 56 game season over there. So things might have to be finagled a little bit for the NHL. But on that note, we can take our first period break and let you guys know about Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. They even have an Avalanche Amber for you to drink when the Avalanche do come back down at the DNVR bar with watch parties down there and all of that. If you can't get down to the bar, you can always check your local liquor store. Use the Breck Beer Locator online to find Breckenridge Brewery near you. And, of course, Chevalier Mortgage. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business for a long time, and they're a local, family-owned, just like us here at DNVR. So help support our partners. Supporting them is supporting us. You can visit them at dnvrmortgage.com and get your opportunity to win some free DNVR merch, as well as get signed up for a free consultation. Mike is a certified financial planner, so they bring a lot more than just great rates when it comes to finding a home loan for you. Be sure to check them out today, again, at dnvrmortgage.com, or, of course, you can always call Virginia at 303-257-6578. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show.
Rudo, I need to buy a new hat.
Okay, that's the meat and potatoes of today's show. Confirmed.
Exactly. AJ's shopping. What hat should I buy?
You said you didn't want a hockey hat, right?
Yeah, I don't want a hockey hat. But I'm feeling I buy new hats and beanies every few months, and it's been a while. So I need to buy something new. So I think whoever comes up with the best idea in chat wins.
There you go, chat. What hat should AJ buy for not non-hockey related?
Yeah. That is not a hockey team. Because I own plenty of hockey hats.
Buy a WoW hat.
Just one with the Horde.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. The Horde logo on it. You're set.
Cool.
Well, a John Deere, absolutely not, Victor. A Blue Bombers hat, that's probably not bad. Except for you don't like the Blue Bombers. You could buy their enemies and have everyone yell at you every time you go up to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm already a Riders fan, so. Oh, Kyle Busch hat. There you go. That's a boy. NASCAR.
I appreciate the $2, but neither of us are NASCAR fans.
What's Jeff Gordon up to these days?
Does RuneScape make hats? I don't even know.
That RuneScape still exists
dude, it's like more popular than ever now. Like, it's crazy out there. All right. Liverpool hat. Not a big soccer fan myself, but AJ, which Premier League team do you even root for?
Chelsea.
Okay, well, you're not going to buy a Liverpool hat then.
Nope.
All right. Keep buying or keep giving us hat ideas, since AJ didn't seem sold on too many of those.
We're just getting warmed up here.
A Bitcoin hat, Dogecoin hat. While you guys are putting in hat recommendations, let's talk about Tyson Jost and Val Nichushkin a little bit, because their defense has certainly been quite strong this year. I don't think there's any argument that Tyson Jost hasn't taken a step forward defensively this year. He's I'd fallen to the wrong word. He stepped into his bottom six role and excelled through 11 games so far. But
he's blossomed.
Yeah, for sure. But we do have the chart that everyone has been sharing around Twitter and such that we can bring up here for Tyson Jost.
Oh, I'm getting tired of seeing it.
This is gonna be a little bit of a lesson in don't always trust the statistics you see out there, because this makes Tyson Jost look like the greatest defensive forward in the history of history.
Yeah.
Look, the numbers are great. You have to take into account a lot of things, though. First of all, these are 5.
Rudo, he's soft on the wall.
I don't know about that, but these are 5 very specific stats that make Tyson Jost look very, very good.
Yeah, very specific stats.
3 of them having to do with expected goals against, which is kind of a wonky stat when you're taking it out of context.
Well, and it's such a iffy stat in general.
Yeah.
Because it relies so much on shot location.
It fails to take into account a lot of things.
Shot location is something that its tracking is still very iffy.
Yep.
So it's expected goals is an inexact science at the moment.
It's extremely inexact, especially to the point of there's expected goals and then there's adjusted expected goals for players' shooting ability is a completely different stat.
Yeah.
And you regularly see players at the high end shoot double digits over their expected goals for. So
right. And for anybody that's looking at this right now, and if you're listening to this as a podcast, it's basically 5 bars. Completely maxed out in expected goals against per 60, 5-on-5 relative to teammates' expected goals against per 60. Again, very specific. High danger shots against per 60. And then I don't know what FA is. Is this? Yeah, I'm assuming it's Fenwick against.
That would make sense.
But expected goals against divided by Fenwick against is sort of again really specific.
Yeah, you're getting into super specific stuff here. Like no one should be looking at that stat.
The question is how meaningful is it? And then D-zone giveaways, which
giveaways another stat that's tracked questionably at best.
Exactly. So it's
and even if you put value into these stats, you have to put it into context. Understand that Tyson Jost is playing a bottom 6 role here. He's not regularly stepping out onto the ice against the best shooters in the league, right? The Avs have always matched up top line against top line. That's what they like to do. Tyson Jost is playing great defense, but he's doing it against third liners, fourth liners, guys that probably don't have the best shooting percentages in the league. So yeah. It's part of the equation there, and I don't want to hate on Tyson Jost, as Edwin brings up, 155 minutes of time on ice. It's not nothing. Like, that's certainly, we're not talking about 50 minutes of time on ice here. There's a decent amount of stuff to this data, but this is also not even close to a full season of data. This is something that needs to continue being the trend for him to solidify himself as an extremely strong defensive player. The other side, and it's not shown in those statistics, but the other side, and the place where I think Tyson Jost has really grown the most, is on the penalty kill. He's taken to that role like a duck to water, and the Avs penalty kill has been pretty darn excellent on the whole this year. So there is some negativity about those stats specifically that are getting shared, but I don't want to take away from Tyson Jost's play. He's been very, very good in that role defensively this year. And that brings me to the next question. AJ, who's been better defensively this year? Tyson Jost or Val Nichushkin?
I would say Jost has been.
Okay.
I think the tiebreaker is their work on the PK, where Jost has played a bigger role. And I think that I would take that.
I asked this on Twitter about a week ago, right before their last game, and it was pretty split. The fan base in general, or the Twitterverse in general, it could go either way. Both of these guys are very, very similar in their performance defensively. A lot of people gave it to Nuke because of the marginal more production on the offensive side.
What is he at, a goal and an assist?
Yeah, he has one more point than Jost.
Yeah. So, and you remember that was a breakaway that he botched.
And then essentially kicked it in.
The puck, he got stuffed on a breakaway, and the puck directed in off his skate. The guy got lucky. And this is the conversation, and like, we don't care about that, right? Had Tyson Jost scored into the empty net and their production was the same, how would we feel about it? Oh, he does have 2 goals. He did score the one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
the 5-hole goal.
So he's up to 3 points now.
Yeah.
So,
but had Tyson Jost scored into the empty net, everybody would be like, "But it's an empty net."
Yeah. It's definitely one of those tough things to judge there, because yes, Tyson Jost only has 1 point. Him needing more production has been a knock on him for a while now.
And it's something for the record, and I want to make this absolutely clear, because it seems like every time we have the Jost conversation, there's always that one clown out there that wants to focus on, you guys just love Tyson Jost. Like, we agree. He needs to produce more. Yep. You have to produce offense to stay in the lineup. You have to. Like, you can't be useless on one side of the ice. If he's going to score 25 points a year, that's fine.
He's on pace for 8 this season. So that's got to go up.
Yep. But, 25 points, I mean, you'll take 25 points out of a bottom 6 guy like that. That's fine. You just have to know that you can't play him too much, because you won't get more out of him.
Yep.
So it's important to note, like, we agree there has to be production. He has to start finding ways to fall his way into some points.
Yep.
He generates scoring chances. He's involved in quality stuff on offense.
But puck's got to go in the net.
They've got to go in the net, man. Like, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it just does not do enough good to just generate all the time. The one good thing that you always say about it, though, and it's especially true for bottom 6 guys, if those guys are putting pucks on net, those are pucks that are not getting put on their own net. Those are saves that their goalie not having to make.
Yep.
So you can ding Tyson Jost for hitting the goalie in the chest all day, but it's like, hey, those are shots that Philip Grubauer is not having to stop.
If Tyson Jost is shooting, the other team can't be shooting. A couple other questions from the chat here. BW Whiteside asks, can we hear from AJ on why he'll be protected over others?
Right now, I would protect both Nichushkin and Jost.
I mean, I think there's 2 factors to this. One, there's still a chance that he's not protected. 2, based on the economics of the Avs and their cap hit, protecting Jost forces Seattle to take a player that has at least a $2 million cap hit off of their hands, unless they're taking a nobody from the AHL.
Mm-hmm.
So from a salary cap standpoint, protecting Jost makes sense regardless of performance.
Yeah. Any incentive that you can get to take Ryan Graves, JT Compher, Jonas Donskoy from you'll go with. Just purely, and this is purely about money and not quality of player.
Yep.
Because if you get rid of that $3.5 million from JT Compher, then maybe you could have an argument about Thomas Greiss as your freaking backup.
JT asks, are their salaries at the level of their playing levels? I don't.
It's still, I mean, we're 11 games in.
Yeah.
So all of this is too conclusive.
The conversation I want to have there, though, is that if you're putting Nichushkin and Jost on a similar level of play, generally, Jost is making less than $900K.
Yeah.
You have to feel pretty good about that for this 1 year. We had this conversation a little bit yesterday. If Jost starts to produce, he's not going to be making $900K next year.
Yeah.
He's going to be making significantly more than that. So, again, the tightrope act of walking the salary cap never ends.
He produces, then you're looking at giving him Val Nichushkin's contract.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So it's definitely a fine line to walk here. I do want to dig a little bit more into Val Nichushkin in a second here, but we have to take our second period break as we are sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Head on over there and use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get a bunch of amazing deals. You can see with UFC 258 coming up, you can get 100-1 odds when you select who you think is going to take home the championship belt. They also are having a little bit of a special offer coming up here. Coming up on the weekend, Nuggets playing Lakers, and they're doing the Hammer the Over event for Valentine's Day. The game's at 8 p.m. on Valentine's Day. For every 1,000 users, you get to bet on the over. DraftKings will lower the over by 1 point. So jump on that. get in on it. Do it now. And if enough of you do it, the over will literally be a hockey game over, and it will be free money for everyone. Might as well go earn yourself some free money on the over by dropping it down as low as it can go. It's just bet whatever you can. You can bet 50 cents on this thing, and you still count as an entry into lowering the over. So you might as well jump on it, get everybody some free money. Head on over, use Hammer the Over, hashtag Hammer the Over on social when you place the bet to let everybody know so you get more people going. All of a sudden, the over is like 60 in a basketball game, and you have free money all the way around. It's a no-brainer bet. Head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook for a limited time only. Use that DNVR code when you sign up to get all of those amazing bets and more odds boosts as well. Once you're all entered, you'll be good to go. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus, first bet match, each up to $500. That's for the $1,000 sign-up bonus, by the way. Requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by that DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yes, the answer is yes. The entire crux of the Jost criticism comes from his draft position.
Yep.
If he was drafted even 25th overall, people wouldn't feel the way they do about him. But because he was a top 10 pick and they used the 10th overall pick on Mikko Rantanen and Tyson Jost, you get compared. It doesn't matter that Jost is one of the better players from a really mediocre draft class. Like that, it does not matter. That context gets ignored. There are 10 teams that drafted in the top 20 of that first round who would kill for Tyson Jost.
Yep. Because
that draft was so weak.
I've been told by our producer that the over for the Nuggets game is already at 34 points. So you're literally just winning free money at this point if you go bet on that. Drew asks over under 5 more games until a spinny goal. AJ, we haven't seen one yet this year. Think the Avs are due for one? Outdoor game spinners?
Sure.
AJ not going to put his name out there strong on the spinny goal, but
I mean, they always they fall out of the sky.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they're just not a thing that you can make happen on a regular basis. For me, it's instead of spinny goals, just ask about Sam Girard, how many broken ankles he's caused with the tornado.
Yep.
That thing is, but he's nasty.
Between him spinning people's ankles off and Makar crossing people over, it's just, I would not want to be a forward facing the Avalanche in the defensive zone as of late.
I'm not sure that Sam Girard would be the best D-man from 2016.
I'd have to look.
I mean, you've got the Sergachev conversation, Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Chikrin.
McAvoy. I might put Sam over Chikrin, but McAvoy would be tough.
I think I would put Chikrin and Girard in the same caliber.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not.
But I think McAvoy and Sergachev. McAvoy for sure would be my top choice. Sergachev would probably be on the same level for me as Girard and
yeah.
As well.
He maybe gets the like half tier between McAvoy and Girard. Yeah.
The thing that Girard has over Chikrin is health. But if Chikrin has that moving forward, then it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
But for like the first 3 years, Chikrin just couldn't stay healthy.
Yep. But taking a top 3-4D in the second round, and then ultimately the Avs ended up trading for him.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad at all. I did want to get a little bit more into Nichushkin here. We have his stat profile that I just want to bring up just to show, look, we've agreed that they've been pretty similar defensively. This looks drastically different for Nichushkin. This is why don't trust expected goals against, okay?
Well, I think what is interesting here is the high danger shots against.
Yep.
Because the majority of high danger chances are created from the outside in.
Yep.
And both of these guys are playing predominantly, they've been playing at wing, with Jost playing a little bit of center. Those last couple of games.
Yeah.
But predominantly at wing. And so that means that these guys, Jost is doing a better job at shutting down play
Keeping it to the perimeter, yeah.
Exactly. And they're getting in on Nichushkin a little bit more. Yep. So, and I think the most surprising one here is the relative. Nichushkin was fantastic there last year. He was awesome. And him getting rolled in this right now. Yeah, relative to his own teammates. I'm surprised by that.
It is a little bit surprising. There was also the factor that Nichushkin, at least for a couple games there, was even up on the second line for some shifts at least. Maybe not a full game, but I do think that's part of it. On the other hand, I do think he's been quite solid. Another guy who's been lights out on the PK for the Avs, especially with the injuries they've had. So it's tough to quantify that exactly. Again, when you look at possession metrics, both of them are rock solid when it comes to getting the Avs the puck and maintaining possession, etc. But I don't actually. Is Nichushkin's PDO? I should have checked this before the show. I can check it later. I'm not sure if Nichushkin's getting a little bit more PDO or if I know Jost was right around 100, so that would be expected. But in any case, both of them have developed into solid bottom six defenders. But my question is it even possible to rank them with some of the best forwards in the league? Can you have a conversation about either of them being top 10 defensive forwards?
I struggle with this a lot.
Yeah.
Because teams play different systems with different roles, and they have different teammates, and they're playing against different competition.
Yep.
And I think trying to match up Tyson Jost's role with the role of, I don't know, a random forward on Philadelphia.
Sure. It gets very muddled.
Right. Like it's so difficult to do because their usage is different and you can't really adjust for that. Like you can to an extent, but you just can't definitively do it. And it's such a tough thing to do year to year. This is where the underlying stuff, all the fancy charts and graphs and all that are great because they really give us an idea of who's excelling in their roles defensively. I think it's really useful, but it's so hard to compare jobs across the league. Like, you look at top centers and Alexander Barkov, Sebastian Aho, those guys get rated as some of the best two-way forwards, best two-way centers in the NHL. And they're a little overrated because defensively they get chewed up a little bit. But then you think about the fact that they are playing against the absolute best all the time.
When they play 15 minutes plus a night against Nathan MacKinnon at 5-on-5, they're going to get scored on sometimes.
You're going to lose some. And that's, and it's different because Val Nichushkin is playing with JT Compher and Jonas Donskoy. And, they're going out there and they're playing against Minnesota's third line. I don't even know who's on that line anymore.
I could not guess what the center is on that line, to be honest with you.
No concept of it, right?
Probably like Eriksson Ek on the wing or something. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even know at this point who
is Minnesota's third line. Yeah.
Which is funny because they just played 3 games against Minnesota, and for the life of me, my brain just cannot.
Yeah, well, Minnesota, whoever Minnesota's third line was, is on the COVID protocol list now. So just read that.
Their third line in the last game, and this I only say that this is their third line because this is what it's listed officially from their lineup sheet, was Jordan Greenway, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Ryan Hartman.
So there you go. I got one right.
Yeah, their lineup sucks. I don't know what a Gerald Mayhew and a Luke Johnson are, but they're in the top 6 apparently.
Michael, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. If you're coming into town, let us know when you're heading down to the DNVR bar. We usually do our post games live from the bar, so be sure
Miss
to
the bar all of a sudden.
Yeah. If you're heading down there, shoot us a DM and we'll stop by and say hi to you for sure. Yeah. Other than that, someone brought up Nichushkin finished 8th in the Selke conversation last year, which for a winger is honestly pretty impressive. It's very, very hard for a winger to win that award. The Avs, it's weird, right? Because everyone thinks of the Avs as this high octane offensive team that goes forward. But we've seen between the bottom 6 that they've built with a Jost and a Nichushkin when healthy, guys like Calvert and Bellemare who play very low event hockey. Philip Grubauer was facing 20 shots a night for a 5-game stretch there. The Avs were pretty darn dominant, and granted, some of that has to do with having a defense of Girard, Makar, Taves, Byram, EJ. The list goes on. We've talked about their defense arguably being the best in the league. The Avs are just a tough nut to crack on the whole this year. So it's looking good. When the Avs are healthy, at the very least, it's looking good. When you're talking about guys that play this heavy defensive style, as in Jost's case, a 4th liner when the Avs are healthy, it's hard to have too many complaints, right? I don't, at least.
Yeah.
So, face-off wins only matter when they matter, right, Paul?
Yeah. Face-off wins only matter situationally.
Yeah. So,
like, people have done the work on this, and it's old work too. It's not even new work. I think
this is like 5-10 years old now.
The last, I think 2016 was when I read maybe the most like definitive, where they were like, oh no, winning a face-off in the offensive zone increases your shots. Like if you get it increases your chance of getting a shot in the first 5 seconds of a face-off win. Otherwise, it does not do significantly anything for you.
Yep. There's on the data available, there was not enough of a correlation to put any meaning behind face-offs.
Just out of curiosity here, Eriksson Ek is Minnesota's top ice time getter at center, with Nick Bonino right behind him, and then Marcus Johansson and Nick Bukestad behind.
So you're rotating Nick Bonino as your 1C?
I mean, none of those guys should be in the top 6.
Yeah. That's pretty yikes.
With Victor Rask all the way down there, who had those couple of nice games against the Avs, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see that the Avs are icing a 4th line center that you don't mind playing against Minnesota's top line center. But
yeah.
2 teams in 2 very different situations, to say the least, on that front.
Yeah.
Where let's have this conversation really quick before we end up the show today. And I know you just talked about how hard it is to compare roles, but I'm going to make you do it anyway.
Uh-huh. I mean, the world is always making me do stuff I don't like. So.
Gabe Landeskog, the defensive forward that at least the 3-headed monster leans on, right? He's the one doing the heavy lifting defensively for the most part on that line. Where does he fit in on the Avalanche as compared to Val Nichushkin and Tyson Jost? Is Gabe Landeskog's 5-on-5 defense as important as what Tyson Jost and Val Nichushkin are doing, plus their PK role?
Repeat the question.
How important is Gabe Landeskog's defense compared to the role that Nichushkin and Jost are playing? It's
important.
I know it's important, but do Jost and Nichushkin keep up with Landeskog because of their PK role? Or is Landy having to go out against those top line players every night and be that guy more important to the Avs?
I think Landy, because the quality of competition, he also like moonlights as their defensive center sometimes.
Yeah, he
Now MacKinnon
takes the
has
face-offs at least. Yeah.
MacKinnon's gotten better defensively in the last couple of years, so
Yep.
this is like less true than it was a few years ago.
Yep.
And we still the conversation around it is still like Landy does all the heavy lifting. It's not really true anymore, but he's very much their glue guy still.
Hashtag Landy's not a center.
Yeah. And no, I would not play him there. Or Rantanen for that matter. But I would be more tempted with Rantanen.
The creative passing ability, at least offensively, you can lean on with Rantanen a little bit, right? But
and the size and the way that he can just drive the center of the ice, I think, would change things up. And with Landy, I don't know that him coming through the neutral zone with the puck is something that I'm as comfortable with in terms of driving play, just raw driving it. But not the point. I don't. Landy's. I think Landy the what he does is more important because the league is full of guys in bottom sixes that have defensive roles. And the matchups and whatever, we could talk about how they're all different and all that, but ultimately, like the league, every team is paying guys because they're defense first forwards where they're just trying to squeeze the water from a rock, Yeah. You get the blood from the stone with a 22 points or whatever they got from Pierre-Edouard Bellemare last year, where it was like,
career high level stuff for sure.
Yeah. And it was like 20 some odd points.
Yep. It's legitimately very, very tough. We mentioned it earlier. When you're paying a player $800K and you get 15 points out of them, it doesn't feel great, but it feels a whole lot better than when you're paying a player $2 million and you get 15 points out of them.
Yeah.
So the value proposition as well.
The second year on Nichushkin's contract made me
a little spooky.
It made me a little uncomfortable, just because I think you need to dangle that carrot as often as you can for the depth guys of playing for the contract. And we're seeing like Nichushkin has taken a huge step back offensively this year.
Yep.
Where it's not like last season there was a whole like 6-week stretch where he was just in the middle of everything. And it felt like he was never going to score again. And then he did. And then the goals just kind of dropped after that. It just started making sense.
It's such a different this year. The feeling is the puck hits a stick and the play just dies.
Yeah. And you just look at that breakaway goal that he scored as a great example of how his year is kind of gone.
Yep.
The goal that he scored against Minnesota where, he went 5-hole. That's just him going to the net. That's just good hard work and, beating a goalie. That's great. You'll take that's repeatable. That's something he can do. That was super encouraging. I'm all about that, right? Like, I'm not going to ding any of that. But that breakaway goal killed me because it felt like the most Nichushkin thing ever. He makes a great play, creates a little bit of something, and then boofs it, gets really lucky at the very end of it, and it goes in. And it's like, cool, we're here. You'll absolutely take it. You don't apologize for success. But that one, yeah.
Ooh, a bungee hat might be cool.
A bungee hat would be cool.
Just due diligence here since it's been bugging me since I talked about it. Tyson Jost PDO 1.01, Nichushkin's PDO 0.95. So Nichushkin's a little on the low side. His on-ice save percentage is only 89.8 at 5-on-5. So maybe a little bit of a goalie factor there going on in his numbers. But either way, I guess we're wrapping up. We can move into our final thoughts here on the show, AJ. Avs don't play for at least 5 more days. I guess 5 more days would be the day they could play, right?
A 5 p.m. game in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. What do you do if you're Colorado here, given that you haven't played in a week? You'll have 2 days to practice, one day of practice realistically before you're back in. Is there a major effect there? Should we expect sloppiness when they come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm expecting this Vegas series to not go particularly well.
Be a little bit messy. Yeah, I mean,
Vegas continues, if they get to keep playing and they're in rhythm, and they're playing a Colorado team that just took a week off, and I expect there will still be, we don't know what Eric Johnson and Devon Taves are up to.
Yeah.
If those guys are still out, then MacKinnon coming back will obviously be helpful.
But there's a world where if Gerard's still on protocol,
if Gerard can't go and Taves can't go and Johnson can't go, they're in trouble.
Their defense is Makar, Byram, Graves, Timmins, and then it'd be Patterson and McDonald.
McDonald, yeah, and then maybe Gilbert.
Yeah, that's
involved in that.
Pretty yikes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk about that more as the Avs get closer to play. We are going to get out of here for the day. Thank you, everyone, watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. Again, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to catch us live 5 days a week, sometimes more if the Avs are playing. And we're doing our post-game pods 1 p.m. every day. The Avs do not play. We'll wrap up here with Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD-infused coffee that has really changed lives. Jump on it. Get it. If you have any aches and pains, migraines, IBS, joint pain, back pain, you name it, it can help with all of that. Use that DNVR 20 code to get 20% off of your first purchase. We also have cold brew down at the DNVR bar. That's going to do it for us. Thank you again, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.